You are sitting on the edge of your bed, staring at your phone screen, feeling a cold, heavy knot form in the pit of your stomach. You make $60,000 a year, you pay your car loan on time, and you just got rejected for a perfectly average, slightly run-down apartment for the fourth time this month. The leasing agent will not even look you in the eye, mumbling something vague about a third-party background check, but they gladly pocket your non-refundable $80 application fee before rushing you out the door. You did not bankrupt a company, you did not commit a crime, and you have never been evicted in your entire life, yet an invisible digital wall has suddenly locked you out of the American housing market. Millions of hardworking Americans are quietly living this exact nightmare right now, completely unaware that a nameless, faceless algorithm has branded them as financially toxic. We are not talking about your traditional credit score, because you already know how that game is played. This is something much darker and far more unregulated, a shadow financial system that operates entirely behind closed doors, without your explicit consent, dictating whether you get to have a safe roof over your head or if you end up sleeping in your car. Back in 1970, the United States Congress passed the Fair Credit Reporting Act specifically to stop predatory banks from secretly blacklisting everyday consumers using shady, unregulated data and neighborhood gossip. But today, massive technology companies have found a terrifying loophole in that history, building entirely unregulated tenant screening algorithms that constantly scrape everything from a disputed $50 medical bill to a dismissed noise complaint from a previous landlord. They feed all your history into a proprietary black box that spits out a simple, automated accept or deny. You are not allowed to see the math. You cannot logically argue with the machine, and if it makes a mistake which data shows it does, constantly ruining your life, is just considered a normal cost of doing business. Let us look at the real numbers, because what is happening to the working and middle class right now is practically a silent, invisible eviction crisis. According to federal consumer watchdogs, over 90% of corporate landlords now use these automated, artificial intelligence-driven screening services to vet every single potential tenant who walks through their doors. In the brutal aftermath of the 2008 financial housing crisis, Wall Street realized there was drastically more money to be made in perpetually renting out the American dream than ever selling it, leading to massive private equity firms buying up single-family starter homes and entire apartment blocks across the country. As these mega landlords took over, they aggressively replaced human property managers with ruthless software designed to maximize profit and completely eliminate anyone who poses even a microscopic risk. My buddy Bobby experienced this exact dystopian nightmare last year when he was denied an apartment because a screening algorithm falsely flagged him for a severe eviction record that actually belonged to a completely different guy with the same first and last name living 3 states away. It took him 4 agonizing months of sleeping on a futon and endless hours fighting automated phone systems just to prove he was actually himself, while the screening company faced absolutely zero financial consequences for their devastating error. This system is aggressively stripping power away from normal working people and handing it to automated gatekeepers who actually profit off your rejection. But the most terrifying part is not just that this shadow algorithm exists and controls your housing. It is what these exact same software cartels are secretly doing to artificially inflate the price of the rent itself behind your back. That artificially inflated rent price you are staring at right now is not a simple accident of supply and demand, and it is certainly not just regular market inflation at work. You are actually looking at the result of one of the largest, most sophisticated price-fixing cartels in modern American history, all orchestrated through a tiny piece of software that your corporate landlord desperately does not want you to know about. Imagine if every major gas station in your city secretly agreed to raise the price of fuel to $10 a gallon overnight, knowing you have no choice but to pay it because you have to drive to work. That exact kind of backroom collusion has been highly illegal in the United States ever since the Sherman Antitrust Act was passed in 1890 to bust up massive monopolies run by wealthy robber barons. Yet today, massive property management companies are doing the exact same monopolistic price fixing in broad daylight, using centralized pricing algorithms that tell them exactly how much to aggressively hike up your rent every single year. The way this massive scheme works is incredibly insidious and deeply frustrating for anyone just trying to keep a roof over their family. Instead of human landlords sitting in a smoky room negotiating rent prices, thousands of property managers across the country all feed their daily pricing data and vacancy rates into a massive third-party database. The algorithm then crunches this incredibly sensitive private market data and spits out a daily recommended rent price for everyone using the software. Because so many landlords in a single city are using the exact same algorithm, they effectively eliminate the free market altogether. You can no longer shop around for a better deal because almost every apartment building within a 20-mile radius is marching to the exact same drumbeat, mathematically designed to squeeze every last possible dollar out of your paycheck. According to recent federal investigations and explosive lawsuits, this algorithmic collusion has artificially driven up rent prices by double digits in major metropolitan areas, forcing millions of hardworking Americans to spend well over half of their daily take-home pay just to survive. If you look back at the late 1990s, the United States Department of Justice successfully cracked down on major commercial airlines for using a remarkably similar shared computer system to illegally signal and fix ticket prices behind the backs of everyday American travelers. But right now, the exact same technological loophole is being aggressively exploited to manipulate something far more critical than a simple vacation flight. It is holding your basic human need for shelter completely hostage. When Bobby finally got his background check cleared and moved into a new apartment complex last winter, his lease renewal arrived just 10 months later with a shocking $400 monthly increase attached to it. When he tried to reasonably negotiate with the leasing office, the local manager just shrugged and said the computer sets the market rate, and there is absolutely nothing they can do about it. The human element has been completely erased from a housing market, replaced by a cold, calculating machine that actively recommends landlords keep apartments sitting empty rather than lowering the rent for a struggling working-class family. They have rigged the game so thoroughly that fighting back feels completely impossible for a regular person. But the absolute truth is this shadow monopoly is starting to crack under intense legal pressure, and there are specific, actionable ways you can financially protect yourself from this algorithmic extortion right now, before your next lease renewal entirely destroys your family budget. You do not have to accept this automated extortion as a permanent reality, because everyday Americans are finally waking up and fighting back against this digital cartel. When you understand exactly how this shadow system operates, you can actually strip the power away from the algorithm and take back control of your financial future. The very first thing you must do before you ever apply for another apartment is legally force these shadow data brokers to show you exactly what is inside your secret file. Under the strict rules of the Federal Fair Credit Reporting Act, you have the absolute legal right to demand a free copy of your specific tenant screening report from the massive third-party companies running these background checks, shadow corporations with names that most people have never even heard of. You have to aggressively monitor this secondary market data just as fiercely as you monitor your traditional credit card score, because catching a false eviction flag or a fabricated debt collection before you apply is the only way to protect your hard-earned application fee and your sanity. If you find a robotic error on that report, you must formally dispute it by sending a certified letter in the mail, which legally forces a real human being at the screening company to verify the data within 30 days or instantly delete it from your record entirely. When my friend Bobby finally realized that arguing with a corporate leasing agent was completely useless because their hands were totally tied by the pricing software, he completely changed his entire housing strategy to protect his wallet. He stopped applying to massive apartment complexes owned by nameless private equity firms and started exclusively hunting for independent, mom-and-pop landlords who actually own just one or two local properties. These everyday human beings are not subscribed to massive algorithmic pricing databases, meaning they still highly value long-term stability and reliable, on-time rent checks over aggressively squeezing you for an extra $200 every single year. You can actually sit down with them, shake their hand, and negotiate a completely fair lease based on your actual human character, completely bypassing the digital black box that desperately wants to bankrupt your family. We are actively entering a brand new era of American trust busting right now, echoing all the way back to 1914 when the United States Congress officially created the Federal Trade Commission specifically to protect regular working class consumers from ruthless monopolistic corporate abuse. Right now, the federal government and multiple state attorneys general are aggressively launching massive antitrust lawsuits to completely tear down these rent-fixing algorithms, meaning the legal walls protecting these greedy corporate landlords are finally starting to crumble in real time. But you cannot just wait around for the government to save you while your savings account slowly drains away. You have the ultimate power to vote with your hard-earned dollars by actively refusing to fund these automated cartels, vigorously protecting your monthly budget, and securing a safe, affordable home entirely on your own terms. Knowledge is your greatest weapon against a system that relies entirely on your silence and your ignorance to generate their massive quarterly profits. You are not a helpless victim against this greedy algorithmic machine, so stay extremely vigilant, formally demand your hidden data, and boldly take your financial life back today. If this video helped you finally understand exactly what is happening to the American housing market, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel for more untold financial truths, and leave a comment below telling me about your own experience with rent increases.